Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. My guest this week is Eliot Hamlisch, Chief Commercial Officer at Amtrak. Since stepping into the role in September 2023, he's been steering the ship on everything, or steering the train, I should say, right? On everything from pricing and revenue to marketing, product development, and the entire customer experience across Amtrak's service line, whether you're riding the Northeast Corridor or heading cross country. Eliot's focus? Reinventing the journey. From schedule planning to digital touchpoints, he's helping lead Amtrak's effort to double ridership by 2040 and make rail a top choice for travelers again. Before joining Amtrak, Eliot was the CMO at AMC Theatres, where he helped drive innovation at the world's largest movie exhibitor. He's also spent years at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, where he led loyalty, revenue optimization, and global sales. I know one last thing, he's got the credentials and the street cred to back it up. Magna cum laude from Harvard and an MBA from Harvard Business School. Eliot Hamlisch, my long friend, I think 10 years maybe or more. Welcome to the show.
Steve, great to be with you. I'm going to have you introduce me at all future speaking events and meetings. Appreciate the kind words. Good to be with you.
So, quick side note, you are now like the 50th person I've had on my show who said, I'm going to hire you to introduce me. I'm like, I have a burgeoning business. Like,
you too. Career number 2. It's great.
Just record intro. I'll give you the family discount. How's that?
I appreciate it.
Okay. I want to dive right into the campaign that just launched. It's been 8 months, 9 months, October, Retrain Travel.
Yeah, let's talk Retrain Travel. Launched in October of 24, and it has been wildly successful. Haven't looked back. Look, the premise of the campaign is relatively straightforward and best summarized as travel can be hard. It can be arduous. It can be taxing. It can be stressful. And we are on a mission to retrain the way the traveling public thinks about travel. When you're on a train, you're by default not stuck in traffic on Route 95, traveling anywhere between DC to the south and Boston up north. When you're on a train, there are no middle seats, as you are often stuck in when you're on a plane. When you're on a train, you can get up and walk to the cafe or use the restroom anytime you'd like, which is not the case when you're sitting in a car or sitting on a plane circling over Newark or LaGuardia or DCA or pick your station in the Northeast or across wonderful and beautiful country. So the premise, again, is really to focus people on the benefits of train travel to encourage a modal shift. We're in the process, and I'm sure we'll spend some time talking about the billions and billions of dollars that we're investing in our infrastructure, new bridges, new tracks, new tunnels, new trains across the country. And Retrain Travel really focuses the traveling public very squarely on the benefits of train travel relative to our competitors.
So what, and I love is it a pun or play on words? The retrain?
Yeah, fun, right?
Or both. I love it. I absolutely love it. And being the wordsmith I am, I really love it. What I launched, so it's coming up on 9 months, give or take, right? What are some early results?
Look, the best part about Retrain Travel, and this was really, maybe I'll even take a step back and share some more insight. We've historically, as an organization, from a media dollar deployment perspective, focused on lower funnel, right? So in the world of awareness at the top and consideration and conversion driving at the bottom, we've generally been the 30% awareness, 70% consideration/conversion, largely premised on it's easier to track the success of dollars that are lower in funnel, right? It's last click attribution. We're able to identify who's clicking, who's booking, et cetera. And so if you're a CFO or a CEO or whomever, and you're challenging the deployment or allocation of marketing dollars, it's easier to say yes to something where there's a very clear dollar amount associated with the investment. We made a shift this year, really in line with the launch of Retrain Travel, to a more 50-50 split, 50% upper funnel, 50% lower funnel. And it was premised on educating the public in new and different ways on, again, the benefits of train travel as a mode of transportation that's preferable to many others for many reasons. What we found is that young people, in many cases, hadn't experienced train travel before, right? They've grown up in a world where, and in a country where we've made billions and billions of dollars of investments, really north of $1 trillion over the past couple of decades in highways and in airports, in some ways at the expense of train travel. And so as a society, we're used to hopping in a car, right? We're used to hopping on a plane. And so we thought it was really important as we deployed our funds to focus further up funnel to educate either those who haven't traveled with us before or those who might have traveled but had a poor experience about what we're doing to retrain travel, make the mode a preferred mode once again. And from an early results perspective, we're seeing an uptick in younger travelers. We're seeing an uptick in new travelers. We're seeing some great results from a repeat traveler perspective. And literally every single month for the past handful of months, we are seeing record revenue and ridership. And there are a lot of reasons for that, which we can get into. But part of that is attributed to, I believe, this investment in upper funnel media and the Retrain Travel campaign.
That's fascinating to me to hear the kind of the shift to, I wouldn't say balance out your entire marketing spend to half and half, right? Upper and lower, but you're definitely designating more, it sounds like, than you would have in the past to upper top of funnel.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, we've had some great learnings from it and seen great results. And I would anticipate that will persist until we learn that there's a better way to do it.
I'm just thinking, let me take a step back, agnostic of Amtrak, an iconic brand. Are there lessons, would you say, for other iconic or semi-iconic, pick one, that fully entrenched in the zeitgeist kind of thing, but may need to hold on, maybe we do need to think more top of funnel?
Yeah, I think there are maybe a couple of lessons to glean here. Obviously, every company is going to make decisions based on their specific circumstances. And what I've found is that the internal messaging on the why matters, right? It's not about marketing making a decision in a silo, but rather marketing making an informed decision and educating others on why that's the right thing or one of a few potential right things to do, and being willing to shift or adapt or be agile to the extent that it's not working as well as we anticipated, right? So it's in part about establishing goals up front, holding oneself and one's team accountable to that. And again, being willing to be wrong. I talk with my team a lot about the importance of making mistakes, failing fast. It's not a bad thing to make a mistake. It's actually great in many ways because you can learn from it and do it better the next time. You hear athletes talking about it all the time. You hear business leaders talking about it all the time. And we really, on my team and at Amtrak more broadly, buy into that. The one thing that's really different in transportation broadly is there's one area where mistakes are not okay by and large, and that's in the safety space, right? We need to be safe for everybody all the time and make sure that we're getting our customers from point A to point B safely. But in between, right, when you think about the customer experience and the way that we deploy marketing dollars, we do a ton of test and learn, and some of those tests go well and some of those tests don't go well. And that's okay, right? We learn from them and we do it differently next time. And I think that lesson is sort of very core to not only life at Amtrak, but life everywhere.
Interesting. So you touched on it not too long ago about the massive investment you have, the company in the infrastructure, because let's face it, you can do all these great marketing. This is with anybody, but if the product and everything that goes with the product is not up to speed, no pun or pun intended, ain't gonna matter. Right. So talk a little bit about just whatever you want to get into, when you say you're building up the infrastructure and how much, and I think you might have said trillions with a T. Yes.
Well, trillions with a T was a reference to non-rail investment.
There you go.
So
okay.
Highways specifically over the past 20 years or so have received north of $1 trillion in investment, which is why we've got a vast and expansive highway network here in the United States. Interestingly, when you look at Europe, they have invested $1 trillion in rail, and we can wax poetic on the differences between rail travel in Europe relative to the United States. But much of that is premised on differentiated investment that governmental entities in Europe have dedicated to rail relative to what our government has decided to invest in rail here. We're incredibly thankful as an industry, received $66 billion as part of the Infrastructure Act during the Biden administration a few years back. We're coming to the tail end of that right now. And look forward to working with the Trump administration, of course, as well on continued infrastructure investment as we proceed over the next handful of years. That $66 billion is being deployed on a host of different rail-related investments. Amtrak, obviously, is getting the beneficiary of a portion of that. It's new fleet. We've got the next-gen Acela train coming out here in just a few short weeks, which we're incredibly excited about. Happy to spend some more time talking about that. It's new tunnels and or rehab tunnels. We're rehabbing the East River Tunnel right here in the New York City area. We have a host of other tunnel projects that are underway. And in addition to that, bridges and stations also being the beneficiaries of billions of dollars of investment. We've got the Portal North Bridge here in Jersey, the Susquehanna River Bridge, the Connecticut River Bridge, and then investing substantially in stations as well. Philadelphia 30th Street being a great example. And then we've been underway and planning for quite a while is Penn Station expansion and rehab as well to bring that station to incredible new heights. So there is no shortage of work ongoing. A stat I like to share is just a handful of years ago, you could literally count on one hand the number of capital projects that we had ongoing in the Amtrak ecosystem. That number is now 700 capital projects. And again, literally billions of dollars deployed this year and for the foreseeable future. So no shortage of work underway, and it's exciting to be a part of.
It's a lot of hands.
It's a lot of hands. Well said.
Okay. Next gen Acela. I almost want to play word association with you. Like next gen Acela, go.
Yeah. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. I'll give you this just a little aside. We actually play word association very regularly as a family time dinner activity.
No way.
And playing word association with a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, you can just imagine the twists and turns that game takes. So you're welcome to come over on a Friday evening and play word association with us.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you are either. It gets pretty wild and crazy. But yeah, let's talk next gen Acela. This train, I've had the pleasure of riding it a handful of times. It is spectacular to see from the outside, spectacular to ride on the inside. This train goes up to 160 miles per hour. Top speed is 10 miles per hour north of our current Acela. It's the fastest train in America. It's more comfortable. It's got a smoother ride. It's got incredible benefits and features that make it feel very premium. Winged headrests for extra privacy, individual reading lights, individual USB ports for charging, individual power outlets for whatever it is that you need to charge. The cafes have been reimagined with grab and go options, which make standing in line not a need anymore. Though I will say our lines move pretty quickly on our legacy Acela product as well. But it's just awesome to see the new cafes in action. We continue our partnership with Steven Starr, who provides much of the F&B for our first class riders. First class is now a 2 seats on one side, 1 seat on the other side configuration, which allows for increased comfort and space for our first class riders. And all around, it's a fancy train, and we're excited to see it come to life. We're in the process of finalizing our testing right now with the manufacturer of the train, Alstom, and the Federal Railroad Administration, obviously a very close partner. And look forward to it coming to life here in just a few short weeks.
Well, you just answered my next question. Thank you. What's the next steps?
Yeah, next steps are we finalize testing, which again, we're sort of in the midst of or coming to the tail end of right now. We don't have an official launch date publicized just yet, but fair to say next few weeks feels appropriate. And so long as testing continues to go well, we should have good news to share on a launch date in the not too distant future.
And where will that be available?
So next Acela is going to ride on the exact same tracks that our legacy Acela rides from DC to the south to Boston in the north.
Okay. Would there be plans eventually to expand?
We have no current plans to expand Acela, and I won't get into sort of technicalities, but the tracks need to be appropriate for trains that go of that speed from a rating perspective. And so the testing on our legacy Acela and of course the next gen Acela have been very specific to those sets of track for rating purposes. That's not to say that wouldn't change down the road, but no immediate plans to expand Acela right now. What I will say is that we operate on 21,000 miles of tracks across the country. So while Acela, obviously focused on the Northeast corridor, we've got 15 different long distance routes, 22 different states that we're operating in partnership with for state supported routes. And then our Northeast regional trains operate up and down the East Coast as well.
Gotcha. Let's talk Google Nudge. How did that all come about? That's really interesting. And actually, if you want to explain maybe what even Google Nudge is.
Yeah, let's talk Google Nudge. It's one of my favorite project names, and it's sort of very, very descriptive of what it is. Google Nudge has been in the works now or in the planning for quite some time, maybe even predating my arrival at Amtrak. What's particularly cool is that Google doesn't do this kind of thing normally, right? So I'll share the premise of what Google Nudge is, and then we can talk a little bit about some of the benefits that we're seeing. But in essence, imagine you as a consumer go to Google and you type in flights from Boston to New York, which millions and millions of people do every year. Historically, Google would, come up and in your search results, you'd see a handful of different options, and that would be that. With Google Nudge and our deep link partnership that we've got with Google, now when you type that in, it still comes up with the flight options that are sort of a bit truncated, potentially relative to what you might have seen historically. And immediately underneath that, it says some version of, have you considered riding on the train instead? And it shows origin and destination pairs that match whatever the search is that the customer typed in, and then comes up with real-time departure and arrival times that match to our site, real-time pricing that matches to our site. And with one click, it literally brings you via deep link directly into the booking path on the Amtrak site to be able to book trains as an alternative to flights. Also on Google, it highlights that trains are an increasingly efficient way. I think it's an 85% carbon emission reduction on a per passenger basis relative to flying. And so one of the many reasons why Google was excited to explore this partnership with us is because of the increased efficiency that rail travel offers relative to airlines. And we've seen tremendous results from it. Millions and millions of dollars in incremental revenue that we've driven. And importantly, carbon footprint offset, generated by folks that would have flown before that are now riding on our trains. So it's been tremendously successful from both partners' perspectives, and we're excited to keep it going.
So I want to make sure I understand it. So you type in flight, you don't even use the word train in the prompt?
Don't even use the word train. Flights from Boston to DC, and it gives you train options. Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I got to admit, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Wow. And you kind of touched on how you measure this, right? But is it just as simple as click-throughs to sales? Yeah,
look, there are a handful of KPIs that we look at. At the highest level, it's increased ridership and increased revenue. We're focused to an increased extent these days on what we call our CRM, or customer relationship management practice, and understanding from a segment perspective who's clicking through, right? So it's not just that we see increased revenue and ridership, but we're seeing a lot of first-time riders come through, and that's incredibly important, right? These are folks, as one of the other things we think a lot about is what we call modal shift. Right, so folks that would have historically flown or driven between origin and destination pairs. And we're seeing a really significant uptick in first-time riders through our Google Nudge relationship. And so that's been really great to see too.
Have you seen a correlation to an uptick in your rewards program through Google Nudge?
Yeah, the rewards program, interestingly, has never been stronger. And I'd love to spend a little bit more time talking about that as well. Amtrak Guest Rewards is roughly 50% of our revenue and 50% of our ridership, which is pretty healthy for a travel/hospitality program. And there's pretty wild variability from program to program, but we've been pleased thus far with that as a percentage. We spend a lot of time on first-time riders encouraging enrollment in the program, right? And so we've been able to successfully enroll a healthy percentage of folks that are coming over via the Google Nudge partnership into our Amtrak Guest Rewards program. At the same time, and this goes back to it's sort of not in the mistake category, but more around continuous improvement. We're actually in the process right now of commencing some research to understand how things are going on the Amtrak Guest Rewards front. There's a lot that's going well, and undoubtedly we have room for opportunity, right? And so as we engage with our customers and prospective customers that are members of other programs to understand what's going well with the program, Where are things not going as well as they could? What are the thoughts on our existing partnerships? Are there other partnerships that they think we should be pursuing, and why? In the next 6 to 12 months, give or take, we'll continue to endeavor down this path of how do we make the Amtrak Guest Rewards program healthier, more impactful, more valuable? And really that's at the core, right? How do we make sure that we're providing maximum value and optimum value for our customers? And to the extent we can be doing that better, let's get after it.
Yeah, you kind of, again, you're reading my mind. It's kind of scary, actually, but into the value prop, right? And look, loyalty became really hot a couple of years ago when Google had the whole third-party cookie deprecation scare, right? As I call it. And a lot of brands went, oh shit, we gotta get as many first-party data as we can. Let's get into loyalty. Obviously, that's all gone by the wayside, but loyalty is still important to have a rewards program. And then, as you know, the need to constantly monitor and up the value prop and keep people interested. But you mentioned 50%. You want to go after the other 50% as well.
Yeah, look, there are, a few thoughts here. One, we appreciate that Rare is the company that has 100% of their customers participating in their loyalty program, right? So the goal here is to get as close as we can to 100%, but appreciating that not everybody's going to join, and that's okay. What we are really focused on, and this is exactly to your point, Steve, is the extent that we can get more people's data, more customers' data, more guests' data, either through the loyalty program or through other means, it allows us to better serve them. Right? And so whether it be through the Amtrak Guest Rewards program, through our email program, or through other partnerships in which we're engaged, we're focused on making sure that we're sort of optimizing the information that we have available to us to best serve customer needs, and the more first party data that we can capture, the better for all in the ecosystem. It's
common sense, obviously. The more you know, the more you can personalize my experience.
Exactly right.
Speaking of relationships, CRM, I know, is a big part of what you guys are doing. And I'm curious to know why you don't just consider it nice to have, but you consider it mission critical, right? For growth and retention.
Yeah, it's businesses die without very direct and significant information on the folks that are spending their money with those businesses, right? And we've, interestingly, this is a little bit of an aside, but I think important to share. We've been on a transition over the past really handful of years, certainly predating me, but since my arrival, I've tried to speed it up from referring to the people that travel with us as passengers to what we're now calling customers to what I'd like to call guests, right? And this is sort of the broader mission and transformation that we're on from a company that has historically been known as a transportation company. We get you from point A to point B safely and on time, to what in the future will be known as a hospitality company, where it's about the experience along the way and enjoying the journey. In order to be able to do that well, we need to know who's riding with us, right? In order to do that well, we need to be able to personalize experiences. And when I say experiences, that's everything from what it looks like literally the pictures that we show you in the copy that we use on our website. It's a copy and creative in our email correspondence. It's individualized and personalized push notifications and text messages that are specific to you, not only to the train that you're riding, but your loyalty status and preferences that you've shared with us before. It's teeing up food and beverage. Wouldn't it be great if our first class attendants knew, because you had ridden with us a number of times before, what your preferred meal was, right? And so it's, welcome, Mr. Olinsky. Thanks so much for your loyalty. I see last time that you ordered French toast, right, for breakfast on your long distance trip. Would you like that again, right? Or maybe even asking in advance. And there's some of our transportation competitors do a really nice job of this, right? And so in some cases, we are trying to differentiate, in all cases, really trying to differentiate our product relative to others out there by being increasingly smart about the collection of and usage of customer data to best serve the needs of the guests that are riding with us.
So, you have seat selection, Wi-Fi to boarding. Are there some recent CX upgrades that have moved the needle more than others?
Yeah, the one that's most exciting for me is food and beverage. We recently revamped our Cafe Acela food and beverage menu, which is exceptional. Highly recommend the cheese tray. It's excellent. Artisanal cheese tray. We've got some great drink selections, and we've seen a healthy uptick in our food and beverage revenue and customer satisfaction as a result of this new Cafe Acela menu. And I bring up the F&B specifically, because it's not something that we've focused on as much as we've needed to historically, right? We've been very, as an organization, train focused for all the right reasons, right? It's about safety. It's about operations. We've got an exceptional ops team that deliver at incredibly high levels. I talk to our COO almost daily, if not multiple times a day, incredibly close partnership, which is important. What we've focused less on and need to focus more on is again, the on-train experience. And food and beverage plays an incredibly important role in that. I learned that very well during my days at AMC, right? Food and beverage is an incredible differentiator relative to sitting at home on your couch watching a movie, right? Food and beverage also plays a really important role in the hospitality space, which I learned during my time both at Starwood and at Wyndham. So we're focused there a lot. There are many other things we're refurbing, in some cases 50-year-old trains, right, to enhance the customer experience aboard. And then we talked about Next Gen Acela, which arguably more than anything else is the biggest CX upgrade that we've got in the works at present.
Gotcha. All right. I'm looking at the time. We're coming up against it. And if you've heard my show at all recently meaning the past year, I always end every episode with what I call the random 5.
I love it.
5 random questions. I don't do gotcha, put you on the spot, but it's just to help the audience get to know you a little better.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. What was your first job and what did it teach you about work or life?
First job was a lifeguard. I was 16, give or take. First real job where I got a paycheck. I'd like to think of myself as a budding entrepreneur when I was 4 years old, selling whatever I was selling to my parents or friends. But first real job was a lifeguard. And lifeguarding teaches you a lot of important things, including how to save somebody's life if they're in trouble. But it was really about interaction with people, right? You spend much of the day doing just that. And it taught me a lot about how to engage and how to make sure that people felt safe and comfortable in their environment.
It's definitely things that you've taken with you the rest of your career.
For sure.
Okay. Number 2, if we looked at your recently played music or podcasts, what would we find?
My son just got back about 2 weeks ago from a Kendrick Lamar concert, and he has turned me on to Kendrick Lamar. So you're going to hear a fair amount of hip hop and rap in my mix these days. Of course, your podcast, Steve, is high on the list on the podcast front. And then there are some cool podcasts that I've been listening to sort of in the design space, conceptual design space, sort of as it applies to marketing, which have been interesting too. So I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to my listening, and I'm trying to do more books on tape as well. Because I just cannot find time to actually pick up a book and read. So
my girlfriend does the same thing.
There you go.
And could you just stay for the record? I did not put you up to saying my show.
I received no cash compensation for mentioning Steve Olensky's podcast on this recording.
Okay. For any legal people listening.
That's exactly right.
Number 3, what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
If I had it all to do over again, I think I'd be a therapist. It's interesting. And you may know this about me. I grew up in a household with a psychiatrist father and a social worker mother, and just am steeped in and thoroughly enjoy the psychology of us humans. And I spend a lot of time reading about it, learning about it. I studied it in college, and I find that what I enjoy most about my job, both current and prior, is the people side of the business and understanding motivations, what I can do to support servant leadership and removing obstacles where I can. And that has just been the part of my roles that I've thoroughly enjoyed the most.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. Number 4, pop culture time. Is there a book, movie, or quote that stuck with you through the years?
You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take is the quote that has stuck with me the most. It's applicable in life. It's applicable in work. I talk about it a lot with my kids when they get frustrated with whatever it is that they're frustrated with. And I buy it. I buy into it, right? You got to try. And this gets back to conversation topic that we were chatting about just a few minutes ago, which is mistakes are okay, right? It can be really scary to take a shot, whatever that shot is, right? It can be at sports, it can be in work, it can be, with your family, whatever the case might be. And if you don't take the shot, you'll never know. Yeah,
I use a similar one about, I'm a big sports guy like you, and I'll say even the best hitters in baseball make it out 7 times out of 10.
That's it.
So without it, you got to take the shot. Okay, last one. Another kind of word associate, and this just happenstance. This came up as a random 5. When you think success, who or what comes to mind? Just that word.
Balance. To me, success is not just about work, but it's about family. It's about personal life objectives. It's about happiness. And to me, leading a successful life is doing as well as you can across all of those metrics. Success to me is my kids being happy with who they are and the decisions that they make. It's having a great marriage with my wife. It's being happy when I walk in the door and go to work every day. It's finding ample time to spend with my family and participate in the hobbies that I love, doing a great job in the office, right? Sort of all of the above. And that's hard, right? It's hard to do all of those things well. But again, the first word that comes to mind for me when you say success is achieving the best balance you can across each of those components of life.
That is a mic drop right there. Eliot Hamlisch, my friend, thank you so much for your time.
Steve, great to be with you. Appreciate your time as well. And look forward to connecting again soon.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.